and welcome to the Talent LNK podcast in partnership with LincolnHR, where we talk all things workforce and talent. I'm Kaylie Hogan-Schnittker, the Director of Talent Strategy here at the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development. Today, I am joined in the AOI Podcast Studio with Lindsey Rogers, Director of Programming of Spark at the Lincoln Public Schools Foundation. Lindsey, welcome.
Hi, glad to be here.
We're so happy to have you here. I'm excited to talk a little bit more about Spark as a program, Spark's future.
Yeah.
But Spark is a summer camp that focuses on STEAM, science, technology,
engineering, art, and math. So we are STEAM, not STEM. Little bit of a difference, but in the heart of it is we're still trying to get kids to explore, wonder, really develop those critical thinking and problem solving skills that are going to be really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and dive in.
Yeah.
You run this program.
I do.
So tell us about it.
Yeah.
You kind of did, but
right.
and tell us about you and why is this such important work to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Why is this so important to me? I should point out that I was raised by a science teacher. My dad was a high school science teacher, high school physics teacher, for my entire childhood, and just instilled in me this love of questioning and this love of curiosity about the world, and never shied away from the why question, right? Like, why is that? Well, that could lead to all kinds, still does, to be honest with you. Going home for holidays, it still leads to all kinds of questions.
That's so fun, though.
But then at the same time, there's my mother, who I love dearly, but wasn't really a scientist and really didn't look at things that way. So I learned fairly early on that I had this really deep love of science and learning new things, but had to translate it so that she would be able to understand it. And that's where I kind of got into science communication, of really loving diving deep and going down that rabbit hole, but also pulling it back and thinking, okay, what do people really need to know to be able to understand this topic?
Oh, so you've been practicing your whole life.
My whole life.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's
Makes
it.
you expert at this job then.
So I came to the Foundation for Lincoln Public Schools about, not quite 2 years ago, and took over running Spark, which has been going since about 2017. When I came on board, we kind of changed things up a little bit, grew the program substantially, really formalized the curriculum, but also loosened up the curriculum, if that makes sense. So we are a 9-week summer camp. We have about 150 kids every week. Every week has a different theme. And so I'll give you a good example. Last year we did the science of sports, and not being a huge sports person, I was like, oh my gosh, but the kids are going to be interested in it, so we'll do this. And actually turned out to be one of my favorite weeks.
That's
it was
so cool.
like this huge physics lesson of okay, we have a big ball and a little ball, and they weigh about the same, but which one's going to roll faster and which one's going to roll slower? And we have a heavy ball and a light ball, and which one? And really looked at all of these physics concepts, brought UNL physics in, went to play mini golf, because that's what you do in a science summer camp, is go play mini golf and put all of these concepts into action. And then after that, we came back to camp and students had to design their own mini golf hole. But
really neat.
They had to think about it, for the younger kids, you needed a start and an end, and you needed a couple obstacles, and that's about it. As we got to older, you need to have a change in substrate, because now we're talking about friction, and you needed to be able to have, not only multiple obstacles, but you needed to have multiple obstacles that were multiple shapes, because that's going to dictate how the ball bounces off.
Yeah.
So really turned this concept into just this giant physics lesson, but the kids were having so much fun doing it. They didn't, the thought of physics really didn't cross their mind, but here we are teaching them physics concepts.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like this is kind of a unique structure of how you do these different themed weeks. I guess kind of tell us a little bit more about how this sets how Spark sets apart from other summer camps that kids could be going to.
Yeah, so there's lots of summer camps in Lincoln. Lincoln is fortunate to have some really amazing summer camps. So we are unique in a couple of different ways. One, we look at it not only from very specifically a STEAM aspect. We bring in expert guest speakers. We hire amazing teachers, but they are not STEAM experts. And that's okay because we bring in university professors, we bring in business and industries, we bring in anybody we can think about and partner with lots of different businesses and universities to be able to provide that expert. Go on really amazing field trips. So really honing in and looking at STEM from an opportunity to excite students, but also look at it as a childcare program. And so we offer care from 7:30 in the morning till 5:30 at night because that's what families need. We provide breakfast and lunch and afternoon snacks because that's what families need. Our scholarship program is robust because that's what Lincoln community needs. So we look at the rate of free and reduced lunch. We look at Lincoln vital signs and what is our poverty level looking like. And then we try and set our scholarships to match the need. So every year, last year, we gave away about $120,000 in scholarships.
That's awesome.
We're aiming to do about that again this year. So
That's awesome.
really looking at this as a community builder, but also a future workforce development, but also childcare,
Yeah.
which is workforce development. So thinking a little bit differently about the role summer camp can play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels very holistic in the way that you described it, that you're trying to support at all angles in the ways that you can.
We
And I
try.
think that's really cool.
We try.
It's
Yeah.
really cool. You told us about one of your themes from
Mhm.
this last summer. Tell us about a couple more and maybe like how the community has engaged
Yeah.
within those
Yeah.
different weeks.
So another week that I loved last year was If You Build It, They Will Come, and really focused in on birds.
Oh,
And so we try at camp to spend the first 2 days just learning about a subject, just learning it, bringing in as many guest speakers as we can and really diving deep. Then we go on Wednesday for our field trip to drive home that knowledge and look at it in a different way. And then try really hard to come back to camp on Thursday and Friday and do something with that knowledge. So either do an experiment or build something or design something. So that particular week, we learned all about birds, and we had, state agencies coming in. We had local businesses coming in teaching about birds, all the different adaptations, really specifically like their beaks and how
Cool.
what their beak shape is going to drive what they eat. So we're looking at
Huh.
things from an ecological perspective, from a wildlife perspective. Then went on a field trip to see birds in the wild, right, to go bird watching. And then came back to camp, and students were invited to think about what bird would they want to attract to their backyard, and then look at the beak of that bird, which determines what the seed is. And then they needed to design and create a bird feeder to attract that bird.
Huh.
So really bringing in, we had Cheever Construction coming in. We had cement truck at camp that week.
That's so cool.
So we're looking at ecological knowledge, we're looking at engineering and design build, and we're looking at the construction industry. And so kind of bridging them all together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I think sometimes as we're growing up, we keep things so siloed that we
Right.
don't always understand that. And then I know for me, when I got to be older and it was like, here's time for jobs, you're like, I've done all these cool things, but like then applying it within the
Right.
workforce.
Right. I was, for this coming summer, we're looking at doing a week on electricity and the light
Okay.
bulb. And so have been talking with LES and are partnering with them. But one of my biggest goals is to excite kids about STEAM. Like, we just want them to see that this is so cool and anybody can do it. STEAM is for everybody. But also, what are the jobs that are available to you, right? Like, thinking about light and electricity, lineman. You could be a lineman. You could also be an electrical engineer, right? You could also be in cybersecurity. So all of these different jobs all have something to do with electricity. And yet, when we think about jobs, you don't think about all the diversity of jobs that are out there. And what's going to interest you.
Yeah, and kids aren't necessarily thinking about that.
They're not, and that's okay, because what we want to do at this age, we're elementary, what we really want to do is just get kids to see the world, to just like light up and be like, whoa. And then just like, they can kind of take it from there, and they can be like, I want to get a book on this, or I want to do something else with this, and that grows. But at some point, we just have to get them excited about science and engineering and all of it.
In the like case of workforce and talent and thinking about the future, why is it so important for students to start doing these sort of activities at that age?
Yeah.
I know this is something you're really
I'm pretty passionate about
about.
this. Yeah. So, when we think about workforce development, and we look at, there's really great workforce development programs that are out there, but they're typically looking at the high school level. And that's important. And I'm not not degrading those at all. But generally speaking, a student learns and decides what kind of person they want to be, what kind of job they want to have, what kind of role they want to play. Early adolescence. So if we don't have students that are highly engaged in high quality STEAM learning before the age of about 11, it's pretty well too late. It's not saying it can't happen, but it's significantly less likely to happen. And I always equate this, like if somebody is, terrible at math and they had horrible math experiences, they're probably not going to get to high school and be like, you know what, an accountant. That sounds great, right?
Wow.
So if we can get them engaged early and get them to understand that, with the right classes and with the right passion, anybody can do these things. That's really important. That's going to mean more to our workforce in the long run. It's a long game, but it's going to mean more.
It definitely does. You mentioned private industry coming in and partnering. Yeah. You probably have, I'm watching as you're revealing the weeks, the different themes for the weeks coming up this next summer, which they all look so fun. And I'm excited to see what you do. But as you're looking to plan in the future, how can different, STEM professionals, work with you in order to get in front of students? Because I know there's tons of people out there that would love to mentor.
Yeah. We would love to have all kinds of guest speakers. The thing that we really seek is guest speakers that are okay talking to kindergartners, because that is a skill set. Some people are not comfortable with that. Be ready to have fun with kids. And the goal is not to bring them the absolute specifics of your industry, but get them to understand that your industry is super fun, right? Whether it's construction or it's engineering or computer coding, like whatever it happens to be, you got into it for a reason. Why? And share that passion with our students. But yeah, if anybody's interested, oh my gosh, we can work just about anything into any week that we already have planned, right?
Sounds really cool. Yeah. And like, what a great way to enhance the learning experience. Like you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, having that expertise is so helpful.
The expertise and the passion, right? Because, like even me, I can do a lesson and I love teaching science, but I'm not going to bring the passion that like an electrician is going to bring, because I am going to not have quite the confidence. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So that passion and that expertise, that's really good.
Is there something you're extra excited for next summer? I know you talked about LES, which is really cool,
that's
and I'm
cool.
sure that'll be fun.
We have a camp a week called, we have a camp construction, where we're just going to like dive into all different kinds of construction jobs. So like plumbing and electrical and, concrete work. So really diving into all of that. There's another week that I'm excited for called The Science of Me.
I saw this one.
Right, we're looking at, it's really medical, but it's taking it from the perspective of getting to know yourself. So why are your eyes blue or brown? Why are you left-handed or right-handed?
So genetic lesson.
Just huge genetics, and then also looking at like our body and the systems of our body. So How does our pancreas work with our body, and what role does it play versus your kidneys or your liver or your teeth, right? Like, what's the purpose of your teeth? So really thinking about your body as a model for STEM.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So we'll see, right?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I want to come.
I know, right?
This sounds great.
That's it. We need more of this. We need it for adults, right?
We really do.
We really do, right?
Well, before we dive into the kind of the future of STEM and where you're hoping to go, you talked about scholarships and accessibility factors.
Yeah.
How does that play into the goal of Spark?
Well, I'm pretty passionate that STEAM is for everybody. End of story. And so if we're going to have that as be our mission, then we really need to live that. So we need to make sure that our lessons are age appropriate, right? So once you get to camp, the same lessons that we do for kindergartners are not the same lessons we do for fifth graders, right? Because it needs to be accessible to them. But when we start looking at STEM scores, like from a formal school perspective, there's a pretty big divide when it starts coming to socioeconomic, when it comes to race and ethnicity. And so we want to make sure that there's nothing getting in the way of students participating in STEM learning. So, we work constantly with different organizations. Federal programs at LPS helps us connect with refugee and migrant students. Our scholarships are hopefully lessening the burden on individuals that might not be able to afford this, but yet their kids still should have this opportunity. So we try really hard in a lot of different ways to make sure that our programming is accessible.
Good. That's great. I know that's so important.
That's the goal.
That is the goal.
That's the goal.
Good.
Yes.
Well, what's next for Spark?
Well, I don't know. I do know and I don't know. In that I like to think big. I'm a big picture thinker. I'm also somebody that likes to look forward a lot. And so thinking about the Lincoln community and the robust STEAM industries that we have, what is it that we as a community need to do to make sure that those industries have the workforce, not tomorrow, but like 10 years from now, right? So that when we bring in really cool industries, they know that they have a steady stream of workforce that's going to be there to help them. So what that looks like is expanding Spark. Does that mean more summer camps? Maybe, yeah. Does that mean more programming evening and weekends? Maybe. Does that mean a dedicated STEAM center? That would be really cool. Maybe.
Absolutely.
So it's really starting to figure out what role Spark can play in expanding STEAM education in the Lincoln community and figuring out what gaps there currently are, how we can fill them, how we can best serve the Lincoln community. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
What other exciting things are happening with Spark? You had a big announcement
We did have a big announcement the other day. We, thanks to the work at LPED and our partnership with LPED, were awarded some money from Google.
That's
That
great.
was a big announcement for us. That's going to allow us to not only expand our current programming in that we can buy more computers and we can buy the resources that we need to make sure that our programming is constantly top notch, but also, again, really looking to the Lincoln community and seeing what's next.
Yeah.
And so, what is that? Listening sessions? Is that investigating, a STEAM center? Is that investigating expanded programming? Really trying to figure out what the best way forward is for Lincoln and making sure that our future is strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've done a lot of really cool things over the last couple years.
Thanks. I like my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is very obvious, and I think that that's a great thing. What can the community and businesses do to help Spark move forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that most importantly, it's to support our current programming. So we would love to work with all different kinds of industries and bringing in those experts or field trips. We have had to learn with 150 kids per week that sometimes that means 40 go here and 40 go here because 150 kids all at one time is a lot. But being able to provide those field trips and then really helping us imagine what they need, what those businesses and industries need forward thinking, right? So help us help you, I guess, is the thing to say is, are you looking to expand dramatically? And so if so, what kind of STEAM programming do we really need to light the spark for students? We work a lot with the university, and so my ultimate goal is to have this kind of trifecta between informal STEAM education, business and industry, and university, and really helping bring all three together. Because to me, that's where some really cool things can happen. We have all this research going on. We have this business, this booming economy, and then we need the next generation of researchers and workforce. So bringing them together, I think, is the biggest thing. So we would love to chat with anybody.
Awesome.
I chat with people all the time.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much again for being here.
Absolutely.
Do you
This
have
was
any
great.
final words for our listeners?
Gosh, I don't know. I think stop and slow down and just look around, right? Like stop to realize that there is science all around you. And
Really do smell the roses.
like really do smell the roses, but then ask why does the rose smell like the rose does? Or, stop and smell the native flowers and think, what can I do to help the pollinators, right? So like slow down and think about so much cool stuff happening right now.
Cool. Well, I like that. I'll
Yes.
keep that reminder.
Okay.
Well, thank you again so
Absolutely.
much. And thank you for all the work that you are doing here in Lincoln with students to empower them to figure out if they want to be in STEAM, if they don't want to be in STEAM, how STEAM affects their daily lives.
Right. Whether or not you want to be that researcher, that's okay with me. But
At least we explore.
Right. You should explore because it's going to really impact you. Well, I always appreciate the work that the Chamber and LPED does. You guys are really a stronghold in Lincoln. So.
Well, it's been a great partnership.
Yeah.
If you have questions about Spark, feel free to visit the Foundation for Lincoln Public Schools website at foundationforlps.org/Spark. Thanks.